Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a stellar example of the PlayStation 5 hardware being fully utilized for a next-gen game, continuing Insomniac Games' track record for crafting beautiful looking worlds and pairing them with thrilling gameplay. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart marks the first truly exclusive first-party game that pushes the technical medium forward. But before we jump into this review, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to stay up to date for whenever I put up another video. You can also join my Discord server for free with the link in the description. With all that said, let's jump into this review starting with story. The Ratchet & Clank series spans a handful of different games across multiple platforms, but rest assured that if you've only played the most recent game on PS4, you'll still be able to follow along quite easily. For those that haven't played any of the games in the series before, you'll lose out on some relationship and throwback details, but you'll still be able to follow the plot for the most part. Rift Apart technically is a follow-up to 2013's Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus for the PlayStation 3. Unlike that game, and many others before it, Ratchet & Clank loses a lot of their more attitude-driven characterization for a more friendly interpretation found in the recent PS4 remake. Despite the change, I found the approach to the duo's personalities charming. The story opens up with Clank giving Ratchet a new Dimensionator to help find the rest of his kind. Quickly things go awry when the celebration parade is crashed, opening up the multiverse to multiple other dimensions, including a dimension where the villain Nefarious is the Emperor. This dimension splits up our heroes, leading to Clank being found by this new dimension's Ratchet counterpart, a female Lombax named Rivet. Luckily, this isn't just a gender-bent Ratchet. Rivet has her own personalities, motivations, and background that truly help shape her as a completely different character, and I truly appreciated that. The whole idea of another dimensional version of a character isn't new, and it tends to lean on just being the opposite version of a main character. Rift Apart doesn't do that. Instead, it solidifies why Rivet should be a character as opposed to forcing a new character into the story for the sake of just being a new character. Throughout my 15 hours of playing through Rift Apart, I quickly fell in love with their character and chemistry with the already established series. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart should feel familiar to anyone who's played a game in the series before. The story doesn't delay introducing Rivet and any of the confusion that may come with her introduction. Luckily, all of that is quickly worked out and doesn't drive the game's pacing at all. Likewise, it doesn't feel like it forcefully tries to reinvent the wheel for the series. Despite every other game going open world route for their series as of lately, Ratchet & Clank takes a more reserved approach with this entry. It feels like Uncharted Lost Legacy's approach to open world design, where it's more like a medium-sized sandbox that still has somewhat of a linear design to it, just on a wider scale. It works well in the case of Ratchet, but doesn't fully focus on it. You get a nice mix of linear levels and more open levels, all selected from the main menu. All of these levels have side quests in them that you can go after for some extra currency, upgrade points, or perhaps just new armor. Regardless if you choose to play it or not, there's plenty for you to do in Rift Apart. Exploring these worlds is a lot more fun thanks to the movement upgrades too. While you can jump, hover, and run all around the map, new mobility options like some jet-powered hover boots let you boost your way across the wide open fields, even making some large leaps across canyons. It's a lot of fun. Of course, there's also the all-new dimensional rift abilities like being able to grapple hook your way through a dimensional rift to teleport across the field. In these mini sandbox areas, they provide a quick escape in heated moments while making the strategy of combat all the more interesting, and they only get better over time. Sadly, it's not all that great, as there are moments where you have to ride other creatures in these racing-like moments. While they were cool at first, their novelty quickly wore off and started to feel more like padding in between two amazing segments. These were the only few times where I felt like the game spent a bit too much time on one specific idea that just didn't really feel fully realized yet. Outside of the mobility, there's the classic Ratchet & Clank combat system that continues to be as fun as much as it is absurd. There's a total of 16 weapons and a handful of secret weapons that you can unlock on top of them. There's a few fun ones with this entry, though I'm still iffy if this is my favorite entry weapon collection. To be fair, it's quite hard to choose with the amount of just incredibly wild weapons Insomniac has come up with, both in and outside of the Ratchet & Clank series. Nevertheless, the ones in this entry are fun to use and even more worthwhile once upgraded. Throughout the campaign, you'll be collecting both upgrade points and currency. These are both used at the shops all around each level. Currency is spent on buying new weapons. These become available in the store the further you progress into the campaign, and you level up your character. As you use each weapon, you can level them up and further unlock your upgrade path. This is where the upgrade points come into play. You can spend your points on these upgrade trees to increase their damage, their ammo capacity, and even more. There are even bonus upgrades that are unlocked as you unlock upgrades around them, sort of like an extra unlockable feature. This means that by the end of the game, a simple pistol or shotgun can become an entirely unique type of weapon. It felt rewarding, especially for those that specifically like one type of gun enough to mostly use just one or two guns throughout the whole campaign. There's also a variety of gameplay sections that change up the formula of the series for the better. For example, Clank has his own little confined puzzle sections that feel like the Captain Toad minigames for Ratchet & Clank. They're all physics-based, and while not incredibly challenging, were fun brain teasers. There's another type of game mode that has you control a little robot named Glitch that can help you open up locked off areas. Their inclusion was a great distraction from the usual formula, and the personality of the little character was a fun, charming addition to the series. Outside of the main campaign, as I mentioned before, there's a handful of side quests that you can do along with the New Game Plus mode that adds a challenge mode. There's a lot more bonus content that can extend the 15-hour campaign well above 25 hours if you take your time. Needless to say, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is one of the most impressive looking games out there. Its presentation is nothing less than jaw-dropping with a handful of different performance modes that fit players' different presentation tastes. By default, the game is presented in Fidelity mode, or the game is presented in a dynamic resolution between 1800p and native 4K at 30 frames per second. While capped at 30 frames per second, this mode presented a beautiful looking sharp picture, complete with hardware accelerated ray tracing for some great looking reflections and lighting effects. These are most apparent in the levels that have a juxtaposition between bright light sources and dark rooms. While you have the option to play without ray tracing, it truly feels like this game's environments were designed around it. Other notable features include the finite details in materials such as the fur on Ratchet, or the amount of detail made out in large amounts of crown. While the 30 FPS target isn't for everyone, the trade-off feels well worth it here. There's also a performance mode, two of them actually, one with the form of ray tracing enabled and another without. Performance mode without ray tracing reduces some of the details on materials and drops the frame rate between 1620p and 1800p, but provides a long 60 frames per second target across the board. The performance mode with ray tracing brings back the advanced lighting technique, while reducing the resolution further as a compromise. Here the game continues to target 60 frames per second, pretty well in fact, but drops the resolution to 1080p up to 1440p. It's almost like what you'd expect an Xbox Series S version of this game to run, and though way fuzzier, offers a nice compromise of a lovely presentation at a high frame rate. While I play mostly in Fidelity mode, having the option between all three was a great choice on Insomniac's part. When it comes to sound design, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart knocks it out of the park with the full orchestra playing each one of the varying themes. The whole idea of traveling across multiple dimensions so quickly isn't just cool in visuals, but when varying tracks are mixed together across completely different types of environments and thus themes, that's really where the magic is. In addition, being a first-party game, I was excited to see how the DualSense would be supported, and Insomniac didn't disappoint. Everything from melee attacks, picking up collectibles, and even firing your weapons, all get some sort of varying feedback throughout the controller. Even the varying resistance on the triggers also acts as a normal and alternate fire, similar to how it worked in Returnal. It's but another example of how developers should be utilizing this new feature with the controller, first party or not. Overall, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart feels like it lives up to a lot of the expectations put on it. It's very much a next-gen game that truly feels like it could only be done with next-generation hardware, thanks to the ray tracing performance and the faster SSD. Combined with the DualSense haptic feedback, it feels truly unique, up there with Returnal and Astrobot. Its presentation is phenomenally well done while providing a story that doesn't feel forced for the sake of a new entry. Instead, it continues the story and introduces new faces that are great enough to be welcome staples in the future. Rift Apart is another contender for PlayStation 5's must-have title this year, and another point for Insomniac, who is quickly getting close to dethroning Naughty Dog as Sony's marquee first-party studio. Thank you very much for watching my review. I hope you guys found it useful and entertaining. If you did, you can let me know with a like and a comment down below. I know it's a bit challenging to get a PS5 right now, but hopefully for those looking, you can grab one soon. And for those that have one already, you can get your hands on one of the best games of 2021. I'm super excited to see everyone get their hands on it. Anyway, I gotta get back to playing all these cool E3 demos that dropped this week, but until the next video, I'll talk to you in the comments down below or over on my free Discord. The link is in the description.